Hi, I'm John Hart and welcome back to Mr. America Hart. I'm so thankful you came by today because we're talking about rep speed, rep cadence. How fast should you be lifting and lowering those weights when you're working out for the most stimulation to those muscles, okay? For the best possible scenario that we can get and the best results. That's what we're at today. So look, I'm going to give you a very brief history going back to the Golden Era as far as rep speed goes. Most of the gentlemen that worked out, the bodybuilders of that era, they worked out, and you could see it in all the magazines, every interview they ever did, and even ask them live today, how did they work out? I've been many times on my buddy Ric Drasin's show. It's called Ric's Corner. You can find him. I'll put a link down below to find his channel. And Ric is a Golden Era old school bodybuilder. And he says the same thing that most of them said at the time, which is they lifted, they lowered under control, making every effort not to have large amounts of momentum when they would move the weights. As a result, they built muscle. They stimulated their muscle mass greatly. The other train of thought or school of thought during that same era was started by Arthur Jones and Nautilus. The Nautilus equipment that he created was very popular. It was in every gym around this world. And when he created his equipment and would make workout recommendations, he used a 4-0-2 or a 4-1-2 or a 4-2-2 recommendation. What language did I just speak as far as the rep cadence goes? Well, the 4, the first number, represents the eccentric or the lowering of the weight. So whether you're doing a heavy squat or whether you're using a Nautilus leg press machine, lowering the weight in 4 seconds. The last number, the 2, was consistent in all 3 numbers I just said, 4-2-2, 4-1-2, 4-0-2. The last number, that one represents the positive or the lifting phase. When you're lifting the weights in a concentric manner, that's the word that's for it, concentric. When you're lifting in a concentric fashion, that part of the movement you're going to do in 2 seconds, according to Nautilus. And then the middle number, 0, 1, or 2, that is how long you are to hold the weight in place in the fully contracted position. As in a leg extension, you lift the weights up, you pause for 1001 or 1001, 1002, and then down goes the weight in 4 seconds, right? When you do such a thing, you are stimulating muscle heavily. There's very little momentum involved, and training that way was pretty good. Just like the old school Golden Era Bodybuilders in their training. It was pretty good. Now, as we move forward in the next 20, 30 years, things have kind of morphed to go even slower. There's other derivatives of that training. Two that come to mind, The Power of 10 was a book that was written a while back. 10 seconds, positive and negatives. Those are pretty slow. 10 seconds to lift and lower weight. Very slow. The other one was Superslow. Superslow, also based off of 10 seconds, and then they went even longer to 15 seconds. Those kind of times, with occasionally a 30-second. Some of these outfits would run a 30-second eccentric or lowering of the weight on a chin-up or on a dip. They would lower the body in 30 seconds and then raise it in 30. So on a dip, going down in 30 seconds, and then reversing it and pushing up out of that dip in 30 seconds was so artificially slow and tedious. Oh man. So what have I done over the years? Okay, I'm going to give you my opinion. This is an IMO video. In my opinion, empirical evidence, in my experience, and training my clients. This is what I have found. These super slow 15-second or 30-second negatives or positives, wow. Excuse me. Wow. A little bit boring. A little bit tedious. Sometimes a little painful, you know. Very slow motion movement like that. Very good effort, you know. But in order to do a full rep, the weights, the load has to be lowered. In order to do even a 10-second positive or a 10-second negative, The weight, the load must be lowered. And that brings us to a concern for the all or nothing principle. This is not now bodybuilding, but we're getting into the realm of biology. In simple Bio 1, in high school or college, they teach the all or nothing principle with regards to muscle fibers. Your muscle will only fire so many fibers, the maximum number necessary to lift a pencil, but no more than that. So if it takes 2 muscle fibers to lift a pencil, those 2 are going to fire at 100%, but all the rest of them are going to relax and do nothing. If I lift a 50-pound dumbbell, maybe 80% of those fibers are going to fire, and then the other 20% will do nothing because they're not needed. But as I increase the weight or the load, more fibers will fire. Okay, that sounds good. The problem with lifting artificially slow is you have to lower the load, which means you are now lifting, stimulating less muscle fiber. That's the big problem that I have with that one. I don't like it. Does not stimulate as much muscular growth or hypertrophy. That's a negative. So I have to take that entire approach and push it off to the side and use it only for clients, or you should use it. Look, if you have any sort of an injury or an itis, tendinitis, for example, in your elbow or in your whatever, in your knee, obviously go super slow. That way you can actually keep the joint moving through the full range of motion, which is excellent, great for rehabbing, and you won't have to overload the joint with too much weight. Just take those sets to failure, and you'll stimulate a decent amount, let's say, of muscle tissue. Now, moving away from that, you can tell I'm heading backwards now, back to my boys, back in the 70s and 80s, the guys that lifted either Nautilus fashion or even the other Golden Era Bodybuilders who lifted minimizing their momentum. This is the approach that I find with almost all clients that I've trained. It's much more enjoyable, number one, but stimulates muscle fiber, and you can lift heavy enough loads that you are firing a decent amount of those fibers and stimulating the growth of the lean muscle mass. It doesn't matter whether you're a bodybuilder concerned with having maximum lean muscle mass, or you're just a fitness enthusiast training that wants to just be fit and in shape, have a beach body, doesn't matter. Or if you're just somebody who just wants to be in decent shape and look good naked, you know? Any one of those. If you're one of those, you want to stimulate the muscle. You want to use the tool of the weight training, the weights, to stimulate the muscle as much as possible, making, now you sound like a bodybuilder, making the exercises harder on the muscle with a decent load so you can tear down that muscle tissue enough and it'll repair itself and add a little something back to it. So, cadence-wise, what do I recommend? Well, at the slowest, I like that Nautilus recommendation. 4-1-2. Okay? 4-1-2. A 2-second positive curling a weight up, 1001, 1002. If you're in a machine that offers some really good resistance at the top, pause for 1001 and then down 1001, 1002, 1003, and 1004. 4-second negative. On most exercises, it works spectacularly well. On exercises that don't offer any kind of resistance in the fully contracted position, you don't stop. You just slowly reverse direction and then lower the weight in 4 seconds. Either that or something heading more towards the Golden Era way of lifting in a controlled fashion and becoming a feeler. The one thing that the bodybuilders of the Golden Era were all about was getting into their muscle mentally. In order to do that, you couldn't throw weights around constantly. You had to squeeze and pump and feel. You have to become a feeler with the weights. There's my best advice. Become a feeler with the weights. Feel the muscles working against the resistance, and there is your best answer as far as your rep cadence. If you're one of these people that has to be, stuck on counting with a watch, a clock, or hear somebody counting for you, there's nothing wrong with that. Go ahead and count. A basic 4-1-2 or 4-0-2 count for your repetitions. If not, then by all means, just become a feeler with the weights. It's the best, and you won't tear up your joints that way. So, that's it for today. Hey, before you leave, you'll notice in a moment there's a little circle going to pop up next to my head. If you wouldn't mind, that's the subscribe button to my channel. It'll just let you know when new videos of mine pop up, and you can get to see them right away. Just tap that little circle right there, or the red subscribe rectangle down below on your bottom right. Off to your left, this is the important one now, off to your left, that thumbs up button or the notification bell, depending on what system you're using, you hit that, smash that, do what you got to do to it without hurting your device to get it to light up blue. That thing right there is very important to this channel. It allows me with YouTube to continue to make some nice videos for you and give out the information. So that's it for today. From my heart to you, John Hart. I look forward to the next time that I see you again.